Let's try this again. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, the people of Spotify, YouTube, and Twitch.tv. If you are watching this with video, then you'll notice that the camera work is quite scuffed. I'm using an A6300, and the autofocus feature is going ballistic. I'm not quite sure how to change it. I don't know what to do. I'll try to move as little as possible. But the reason you're here today is because I have the intention of creating more content, but at my own pace. Basically, intention is to do a weekly podcast. There'll be maybe 2 hours, 1 hour, 1 hour most likely today because MSI is starting. Talk about the specific topics that I want to cover. Do some meditation, maybe, offer some advice, do something else, talk about whatever I want to, and then chop them up and also post them, post a full podcast, and then also, post segments of the so-called podcast. At this point in time, it feels like saying making a podcast is a meme because everyone and their mother and their grandmother have a podcast. Of course, this is going to be largely focused on what I want to talk about. I'm not going to, this is not going to be some fanatic gossip channel. You're really going to find things about, the competitive team here, but there are certain topics that are interesting to talk about. There are certain things that I would like to address once in a while, and it allows me for an opportunity to connect with you guys without killing my schedule too much. So that being said, I would require, some assistance in choosing a name for this show. Yes, it's a show. So let me know what you think. I want to start off every episode by wearing pieces that have a lot of sentimental value for me. So this is not going to help if you don't have... Someone send me a guide to fix. I already did this, Dominic. I already did what you recommended and it did not help. Maybe I'm going to try pressing the button again. Let's try pressing the button once again. So now I press the button. See, the autofocus is still going crazy. I did exactly as you... I guess we just have to live with it. Nevertheless, I want to start off by wearing like sentimental pieces for me, A big thing that people care about is, what is Yamato wearing? Like, what's up with his outfit? And I wanted to give you guys the backstory and so forth. So today I'm wearing the very, very special Versace shirt that a lot of you guys know. So people always think, oh, Yamato's spending all of his money on clothes, but it's not necessarily the case. I like to pretty much buy key pieces that I can use in different outfits and that have good quality. Quality is a very, very underrated thing when it comes to clothes shopping. You go to H&M, you buy t-shirts that break and change very, very quickly, which is fine, They have some good shit, H&M have some good stuff. But this Versace shirt, I bought it on sale. That was first, right? And I've kept it, and the quality of it is insane, I'm gonna give this to my son one day when I grow too fat, When I get too fat and old and my back is all crunched up from all the gaming I've done, I'm gonna be able to pass this on, This is going to maintain that level of quality. So I don't necessarily see buying a piece of clothing as all that money is burnt away. I see longevity. And for me, there's a certain level of attachment and love that you have with an item that really speaks to you, and that often comes at a higher price point. But I don't think you should ever be intimidated, because the reason I matched the Versace shirt together with this one is because this coat, I pretty much bought for 50 euro. So this coat, this coat right here, you see this coat? For those who don't see it, it's a coat with like a boat sign, you have an anchor. Like, it looks like I own a goddamn yacht or some shit. This was 50 euro. And this was a good catch, this was a good catch. You mix and match some stuff, and all of a sudden, it looks like you own a boat, This one I actually bought before I flew into Germany to coach for the first time. So back then I had no money. I saved up some money from elo boosting, which is a big no-no. Don't elo boost. I was elo boosting back in season 1, and I've been reprimanded for it. So don't go to Riot Games, you guys. Don't go to Riot Games. And all in all, I just went into a shop, and there was some, there was a clothing rack with a lot of cheap stuff. And I grabbed whatever I liked. And I was like, this looks like I own a boat. But another key thing to add is, this is one of the only coats that I brought with me to Korea. Because in Korea, usually that's the place where I get my tailored suits. Because it's a very, very good price point. The materials are very cheap in Asia. And that makes for good quality suits with good material for a very neat price point. So I have one tailored suit that is here from Berlin, and I have about 6-7 suits from Korea. So I was like, I'm gonna just bring one jacket. But then I noticed, that with this one jacket, I had no buttons. So Sandbox, they have this team assistant, and she is absolutely fantastic. I was like, in a joking manner, I was like, could you please help me, rebutton this jacket? And it would be nice if you could make them golden. And I realize sometimes that, my jokes and my my demeanor doesn't get translated too well, especially when it's a message that I want to carry through a medium. And if it's in person, even if I say it, you get to see my demeanor, Even if I talk in Swedish, let's say, jag heter Jakob, hur mår du? You can see in my demeanor that I am welcoming, right? You're not going to assume he said, fuck yourself, That's my point. But of course, you can have fun with it. Go fuck yourself. You can have a positive demeanor and still say something mean. I'm not going to go into the whole dynamic of what it means to communicate with others, but you get what I mean, right? And she pretty much took this seriously. I was like, I want golden buttons. So she just found a place. They had golden buttons. Golden buttons. Boom, 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 boom. But this one, I realize now, is missing. So I have to join Sandbox again and ask the assistant to fix up my button. That's going to happen in the future. I'm just kidding. Fanatic for life. The pants I'm wearing, now that's also a unique story. Everything has a story. I like to have stories when it comes to clothing pieces. That sentimental value makes me care for things more. See that t-shirt in the back here? Over here, I can't point at it. Over here, that's a t-shirt. No sentimental value. Just washed it, put it on the floor because it's still drying a little bit. That's no sentimental value there. These pants, basically, I didn't pack anything for my girlfriend's aunt wedding. And I had to enter a shop, and honestly, I couldn't find anything that fits. Everything was weird. Swedish lifestyle and styling choices, they've took a turn for the worse. So I like dark colors. I like to wear dark colors. And, you know, I arrived in Sweden during a transition, during a transition of spring to summer. And summer clothes, man, summer clothes look strange to me. Like Swedish summer clothes, at least in the shops that I entered, it all looks like you're supposed to, that you work on a boat. That's how it looks like. You work on a boat and you row that boat in, what's that city called? Venice? What's the name of that city? Help me out. Where you have to like row a boat, you know? You know that place? Yeah, it doesn't make Venice. Yeah, there we go. I wasn't too crazy. I didn't want to buy anything like that. So I found these pair of pants in the back, and boom, slammed them on. Now these are the pants that my girlfriend's aunt. I was about to say my girlfriend's aunt got married in, but no, she was wearing a wedding dress. Nevertheless, we move on. And then the final piece, Yamato, why are you wearing a cap when you're wearing a suit or a blazer jacket? Well, the thing is, in most occasions, I wouldn't do this. But what happens to be worse than a cap is the hair that is beneath it. And I like to shower before I go to sleep. And today I slept a little bit extra. I felt like I deserved it from scribbing the week and, working with the team. So I slept a little bit extra. And I wanted to make sure that, I get to make this episode before MSI starts. So that was a little bit of an introduction on what I'm wearing, why the camera sucks, and also at the same time, why I'm wearing a cap. So let's begin with the first segment of the show, which is going to be the meditation. So I welcome you all to join me, okay? I welcome you all to join me. If you would like to join me, go ahead. We're going to first and foremost discuss the benefits of meditation. What is the purpose of meditation? So earlier, someone wrote the comment, I suck at meditating. Well, meditation is, to me, understanding, how your mind functions. It's about getting closer to your own truth. So it's not about, we often in the past, I'm saying we, but it was me. In the past, I had this idea, due to how I was raised, that, no emotions, stone cold. But what that really meant was whatever emotions came, you push them down, right? And with time, I've learned that emotions can be very, very powerful and give you the most satisfying, relationships and experiences. And love and anger and things can motivate and make people reach higher heights than ever before. And as human beings, we must learn about ourselves. We must truly understand ourselves. So imagine your emotions is a waterfall that is always active and always there, a waterfall. It's important to realize that it's always active because emotions come and go. Humans experience emotions. To put yourself in that position where you want to imagine that emotions don't exist, you just put yourself at a disadvantage. So we accept that the emotions are there in the shape of a waterfall, right? But, with this information, with the idea that the waterfall is there, knowing that it's there, the practice of meditation is making sure that the noise of the waterfall doesn't get in the way, that we don't get wet by walking through the waterfall. We don't let the waterfall stand in the way of what we truly want to see, right? This waterfall can be our detriment, can be a problem. So the key thing is to acknowledge that this waterfall is there, right? That's the purpose of meditation. Meditation is finding that waterfall that is the flow of your emotions, the flow of your emotions. Anti-EUX, you have attention issues, which is common, very common, I had to, at one point in my time, I was using 3 screens and I noticed that I need to have a show running, I needed to have music on while I was listening to the show, while I'm playing solo queue. It turned into something very, very bad. I just needed to have activity in front of myself the entire time. And detoxing yourself from that is, a good start. You need to allow yourself to be alone with your thoughts again. Thoughts are very, very powerful, and there are many things in the world that want to take your attention. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch.tv even, League of Legends. There are things that want to grab your attention at all times. So it's very, very difficult to navigate. It's almost unfair, right? And I've been through those ruts. But thoughts are very powerful, and all of these things are very, very thought-numbing. And you look around you, even the Scuffed camera that I'm using. The Scuffed camera that I'm using, it's a great camera. I suck at using it. This camera came from a thought. This Twitch.tv that you're on right now, or YouTube with Spotify, came from a thought. The table that I have right in front of me came from a thought. Everything around me in this room came from a thought. And with that, the idea that thoughts are very powerful, it's important to nourish those thoughts and not allow yourself to, pretty much get sunken into this, mental diet that, mental diet where you get bombarded with information on a daily basis. The news cycles, 24 hours, things change very fast. But back to the topic of meditation. So the idea is, the waterfall is our emotions. We understand that it's there, we know that it's there. That makes it easier for us to not get wet, not get distracted by it, right? So that is the practice of meditation, being aware. The idea is that you meditate and then you learn how you function and then you actively practice mindfulness throughout the day. So when you meditate, you're supposed to be in a straightened back position. That's important because when you breathe and you expand from every direction. It's not only the lungs, it's the stomach, it's the back. You expand in every direction when you breathe. So it's important to have a strong position. Very important. So you can breathe in every direction. And then the idea is to just notice. Mindfulness is at the center of meditation. Mindfulness in the sense that you are present in the current moment in time. Being present is the only way we truly enjoy a moment in time. Being there, being actively there. And that's why it's always centered around the breathing. Because if I take a breath, I take a breath. It is in the now. Every breath that you take is current. It is very difficult to think about a, you know, breath that you had 4 hours ago. I'm not going to be able to remember a specific breath. I know that there's a lot of fear that comes with meditation. It's like I have a hard time practicing, and we have a lot of people have this mindset of punishing themselves when things are not going as they think it should go. But that's the key thing, you getting distracted is just an opportunity for you to practice. It's like a repetition, right? It's like a repetition in the gym. You space off and then you pull yourself back in. That is very, very positive. And sometimes you space off and you disappear, and that's okay too. It's all okay. The key thing is you should walk away feeling proud that you did something for yourself. And meditation comes easier for others, more difficult for someone else. It's not a quest of just punishing yourself because you get distracted. The whole idea of it is to, practice. That's the thing. I'm guilty of music during gaming, working, also even stream sometimes. Now it takes practice, Our mind gets addicted to things very, very easily. And then it's tough to regulate how much you should intake because it's so accessible. It's the same with food, right? Foods that were inaccessible for our ancestors are so easily accessible, and they are constantly throwing that in our faces through advertisement. You go to the store, what is the last thing that you have to go through to get to the cash register? It's all the sugary and salty things that they know that people are going to, buy because they're human. And the same thing with Twitch, right? You open up Google, Twitter, all of the things, the algorithm calculates how can we make sure that this guy stays online and stays on the computer. There are plenty of traps that are there in life. Would you say that music during work study is bad, aka distracting? Doesn't need to be. I just noticed that for myself in particular, in the example that I brought up, that it became very, very bad. When I had the multiple screens going on, and like in the context of what I do, playing a game of League of Legends, you want to be fully focused on that game of League of Legends. And sometimes, it's easier for people to focus on music. Maybe there's some background noise that's going on that would be worse. Maybe the silence can be tougher to beat, but being comfortable in silence, being, pretty much comfortable in silence, being comfortable with yourself is something that feels good when you manage to achieve it. Because that's where you find yourself. This is where you find your thoughts. The idea is to practice mindfulness, become very mindful and aware of the day, and being there present in the moment in time. Because the last thing you'd want is the days to kind of melt together. We want to actively enjoy things. That's what living is, to me at least. It's weird how silence is also kind of a sound. It's as if doing nothing is also doing something, if that makes sense. What are you doing? I'm doing nothing. Doing nothing is also doing something. Same way, silence is also a sound. That's why the sound of silence is a song. But okay, let's do a short, introduction to meditation. You guys can join along. I would just take a good posture. Make sure you don't lean on any chair, right? So I'm not leaning on this chair. It might look like it, but I'm not. These racer chairs are not that great, honestly, because you're supposed to sit on your ass. And with these chairs, you sit on your legs. You're supposed to just sit on your ass. Me too, with tinnitus, I can never experience silence. Yeah, that's tough. I've had tinnitus sometimes, it comes and goes. But definitely, right? Um, in no shape or form do I, you know, I'm not going. Meditation is not a solution to active, health complications. So of course, you guys need professional help. That's the way to go. Just whoever's interested can join me in meditation. And for some, it might not work. I'm not gonna say it's a miracle thing, but I do believe strongly in it. I think it's a process of practice. So let's take a good posture. Good posture. Make sure that your back is straight. Make sure that you're not supposed to be comfortable. It's okay to not be comfortable. We take a couple of deep breaths. On the next breath, just close your eyes and slow down your breathing. So this waterfall that I've talked about before, the waterfall can be sounds in your environment, can be thoughts, can be emotions, anything you would consider a distraction from your purpose. Mindfulness is the idea of focus. Let's begin there. I would like you to scan the room, any type of sounds. Don't chase any sound, just notice and move on. Just scan the room. Now I want you to hone in on the points of pressure that your weight creates, whether it's on the chair, the floor, your feet, your hands on your knees. Just notice the pressure that you're applying through the force of gravity. And now, create an image of your body in your mind. Scan it from your head down to your toes and up for any feelings of comfort, pain, discomfort, maybe heat, maybe cold. But just notice. Don't adjust, and when you notice, just keep scanning. Try to fight that urge of wanting to readjust your posture. Just notice, move on. And now we're going to take a couple of deep breaths. And every time you breathe out, notice the tension in your shoulders and your neck and your back to go out with the air that you push out. Every time you breathe out, just notice the tension. Wow. Now, I want you to bring back your focus to the sounds in the environment. Don't chase, just notice and move on. Now, just take a moment to relax your mind. Let it go and just let it wander if it wants to. Whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes. I want you to leave with the feeling you've done something for yourself. Feel proud, feel grateful, no matter how it went. You've taken some time out of the day for yourself only. Okay. I always feel, like that moment when I open my eyes, it feels like you are reborn, you know? You you just you're back in reality somewhat. With a fresher perspective. Everything just looks a little bit sharper. What I've noticed, of course, if you are experiencing anxiety and stress, you know, I am not in any shape or form equipped to give advice on everything, but I can tell you how things have been from my perspective. And I've noticed, stress and anxiety ebbs and flows. It comes and goes. Sometimes there's more of it, sometimes there's less of it. Depends on factors that are not entirely in my control. And what I've noticed in those times, in those most trying times, where I've experienced a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress, I had more difficult time meditating, because meditating is very honest. It's very, very honest. You are there with yourself. If you're experiencing stress and anxiety while meditating, maybe that's the truth, Maybe you are stressed and anxious. At least that's how it has worked for me. I'm not entirely sure about your situation, I can't know how anyone else experiences meditation. And if it just makes you feel bad, you shouldn't do it. We definitely shouldn't do it if it makes you feel bad. Okay. The act of meditation is about understanding how you function and being mindful in your day to day. So meditation is something that you can practice at all times. You can practice being mindful at all times, whether you're playing a League of Legends game or you're painting or coloring. There's a lot of things that that function for you. Well, with that being said, I believe we should move on to the next segment. Thank you, Azumat. I appreciate that you took the time to write such a nice comment. So, as we transition to the next segment, I am the same as you, Rip131. I also really work better under pressure. Stress and anxiety has a purpose, in human beings, as weird as it sounds. It's just that our natural inclinations and our instincts are very, let's say they are incorrectly adjusted for what the world is today. The world is improving at such a rapid, everything around us is just getting better and faster and quicker, and everything is just so quick and moving in front of us with such a pace that our biology can't really keep up, right? In the past, I'm sure stress and anxiety was, a good indicator of something needs to change. It's like, oh, you need to do something. This is, stress. Okay, there's a sense of urgency. Maybe this is going to make you active, It's like in the past, it was good to collect sugar and fats because you don't know what's going to happen in the winter. Maybe you're not going to have food, and then it's important to survive. And that's why you just have to mash it in. And it's like when we walk into the store, all these sugars, they are so accessible to us, and are, we need to adjust these knobs a little bit to function in a life that we're living today. Nevertheless, I wanted to give some feedback on MSI. I thought that the general level of MSI was not so high. Not so high. But I don't blame the teams. I don't blame the teams because one thing I understand that I'm going to look at past MSIs with rose-tinted glasses because you like to remember them better for what they are. Just at, 2019, the one that, of course, G2 that was an incredible event with some decent teams. You had IG, you had SKT, you had Team Liquid, and you had G2. You had the staple names coming from all the best regions. But you also notice that something's off with the idea that, with the idea that Team Liquid did in fact beat IG, so that's kind of weird, right? G2 won and so forth. There was a lot of weirdness to it. There was an absurd amount of best of ones. I agree, skill is killers, but yeah, I'm not sure. The new format isn't too bad, honestly. It's not too bad. It's just incredibly draining. That's like my main point here, is that going to MSI is incredibly draining. It was in the past. Like in the past, it was very, very draining. Nowadays, it's even more draining. Because imagine now Mad Lions, right? They just played their semifinals. They went to 5 games. And they have LEC starting in about like less than 20 days. That is exhausting as fuck. Very exhausting. And in the past, MSI was always tiring to go to because you play your whole spring split and then you go. Now it's even worse because you have to quarantine. You have to be in a room. It was in Iceland, which is probably super nice, but probably, just painful because you don't get to experience how nice Iceland is. Because honestly, I've been to many tournaments in my life, many competitions, and almost never did I ever get a chance to experience anything that is going on. With that being said, we have a finals. I think Mad Lions should be proud of what they accomplished. I think they did really well, taking Damwon to 5 games. And between Damwon and RNG, Damwon have had a very, very hard time because their bot lane seems very out of place. I think Ghost is a very intelligent player, but I think when it comes to being mechanically crisp, I don't think he's at the level of some of the LPL AD carries. I think you get pushed in a very, very different way as an AD carry in the LPL. And when it comes to playing Kaiser and so forth, it just hasn't looked that good. I am a big fan of Ghost when it comes to playing the Jins and the Ashes because intelligence is a lot more rewarded and individual skill expression in terms of mechanics become a lot more rewarded when it comes to playing things like Tristana and Kaiser. So Ghost looks a little bit out of place when it comes to this meta. Beryl, I don't know what's happening with him. Beryl has not been playing that well. I believe hearing a rumor about him not wanting to play solo queue in EU West, and the same thing happened over in China, as far as I know, that he just likes playing in the Korean solo queue ladder. Then he was playing a lot of Genshin Impact. But it's easy to take, simple rumors like that and put them all on the idea of why someone's underperforming, when in reality we can't know. It's very easy to grasp the first thing. It's like, he's looking at these weeb waifus and that's why he's underperforming. But I think that's simplifying a lot of aspects of what is performance. Like, performance is very complicated. It's a tricky thing. All in all, when I think of the finals, I think Damwon, Damwon, like Showmaker has been playing out of his mind. I think Khan's been decent. I think Canyon has been good. I think the bot lane has been struggling. I think RNG, like if you compare the two teams, I would say mid jungle advantage Damwon. I think top is even, and then bot is advantage RNG. If you look back at the games between Damwon and RNG, what Damwon do very, very well is that they acquire natural advantages very, very good. It means they're set up for objectives and Rift Heralds, which is also an objective, and how they put themselves in a winning position without, hoping for an enemy mistake is very crisp. But something that they've lost is the level of precision. They were very, very precise in the past, and whenever they made an advantage and they were in a winning position, in the games against RNG, it was very strange to see them get caught. Canyon was getting caught, Khan was getting caught, Beryl was getting caught, and RNG were very, very quick to pounce. That's what RNG is good at. Very good at pulling the trigger, very good at understanding what space is theirs and what space is not Damon's. And Damon's have been, they've just not faced that type of opposition that is going to punish you in such a manner that, RNG are very, very well aware of this is our space, and then boom, we're gonna, knock your shit in. And that happened 2 times. If I look at the 2 teams, RNG has impressed me a little bit more, but Showmaker has impressed me equally much. I think this is going to be a very, very tough best of 5. I think in terms of drafting, we've seen some, silliness from both teams, honestly. But I feel like Damwon, it's weird for me to count out Damwon, Game 5 yesterday, they just told their bot lanes, like, just don't trade. We're going to win this game, we're going to win this game. RNG have played better, they've played better this tournament. I'll give them that. But it's not easy to predict this best of 5. It's really not easy. Thank you very much for the rated Asterix casts. It's not easy to predict this best of 5, I feel. I don't want to underestimate Damwon. It feels weird to underestimate Damwon. And playing a best of 5 shows a lot more than best of 1s. But RNG this tournament have looked better. I think the team fighting and the level of impact AD carries have, I think Gala sits better. But what I'm thinking, when it comes to the bot lane, like, imagine if you're Damwon and you just commit to throwing bans in the direction of, removing Kai'Sa, you remove the trash as they perma-banned, right? And then you just play Ashe, Jhin, Senna, and that's it, Maybe that's the way, Reduce the amount of impact that bot has, and then, Damwon look good, right? Showmaker has looked crazy good this tournament. So it's hard for me to predict RNG. I don't want to commit in that direction and just blindly, say, oh, this is going to happen. RNG is going to win because they won 2 best of 1s. I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. I think there's certain draft adjustments that Damwon can do that would impact, RNG heavier than the other way. But at the same time, Showmaker is the best performer, and the mid lane champion pool has been very slim at this tournament for every mid laner. There's not a lot of mid laners, like Zoe. There's Zoe, there's Sylas, there's Orianna, Victor, Lucian, and then whatever flavor of mid lane that you want to pick, right? The mid lane pool has been very slim. So there's a way, to also throw bans in Showmaker's direction. He plays like everything. He pull out Yone or Jace. Yeah, the Jace was pretty neat. The Yone, not so much. But to be fair, that draft was very, very one-sided for Damwon, I would say. But yeah, if gun to my head, I would have to make a prediction. I would say RNG. But I think it's going to be closer than people think. And I wouldn't be surprised if Damwon figures some stuff out overnight. But as a final note on MSI, I don't envy the teams that have to go through this, because it is, I must imagine that both RNG and Damwon are tired as fuck. I must just imagine that all the teams that were in the semis, tired, very, very tired. Now they have to go back and quarantine again. That is rough. So I don't envy that, and I wish them good luck. Okay, some thoughts on MSI. We move on to the next segment of the show, which is YamatoCannon's Advice Corner. So I pull up. So if you want to join in, so this is a segment of the show that I wanted to call Advice Corner, or #advice, or something like that. You just pretty much you hop in on the Discord, and if you have any questions, you can just hop in on the advice tab and you can just write a note and I'll give my best advice. I'm not a doctor, and if I don't know what to tell you, I will also just tell you that too. It's like if you tell me, oh, I have this wart on my foot, I have foot fungus, what am I supposed to do? And I'll tell you, you should probably get that checked, because I have no fucking clue why you're asking me. Let's get to the advice that people have asked. Geku asks, hey Yamato, I've been getting into play-by-play casting. I cast for my university and for some minor organizations, but I find it hard to really get myself out there. How can I work to cast bigger events, improve as a caster, and what are some things you feel are missing in today's most prominent casters? So, I think it's good to take inspiration from the casters that are successful. It's good to take inspiration from what the majority likes, because that's the business that casters are in and analysts are in. It's important to, find yourself in a position where you are appealing. Oh, I didn't expect that. Thank you very much, Dizoris. I'm gonna mute the alert box for the remainder of the episode, but I appreciate it very much. Thank you. So back to your question. You're in the business of appeasing to the majority. So it's you have to find a balance between being yourself and also, understanding what the public likes, because on these topics, the public is often right, because that's how tournament organizers, choose. That's how they choose. It's a very tough field, because keep in mind, if you want to become a high-end caster and you want to cast for the bigger events, there is not a lot of open positions. It's like, how many casters are there in total? Maybe 10, 15, 20, if I'm being generous, right? And then there's a tier below that, where it's the ERL leagues, and that's a lot of people too. And I think if anything, I would recommend looking into the regions that have less exposure and trying to become the face of that region. I think that would be like a clever way of finding your niche, and with that also finding your entry. For example, Vietnam, the Vietnamese league is quite large. There's a lot of business going on there, and I know that some people have, tried to cover and try to cast those games, and I think it's just about, being patient, because it's very, very cruel. It's a very cruel business, because a lot of people want the same thing as you, and you need to hope to be ready for when you get lucky. So there's an element of luck to it, right? You need to be seen by the right person. And when you are seen by the right person, what level are you going to be at? So you just need to keep preparing yourself for that moment in time when someone's going to notice you. Keep preparing yourself for that moment in time, because eventually, most likely it's going to happen. If you're doing a good thing, humans have a weird way of being connected somehow. It's like someone tells a friend that tells a friend that tells a friend and tells a friend, and that guy happens to know Trevor Quickshot Henry, and he just mentions it to him while they're having coffee down by the bagel shop. People have a weird way of being connected. So just keep doing your absolute best. Output work, and do your research. You're working in a field where you can actually look at great casters and take inspiration from them. So that's something that I recommend that you do, Geku. And in regards to what are some things that you feel are missing in today's most prominent casters, it's hard for me to say. I am not so, deep into it, like I knew what my niche would be if I was a caster, but all in all, that's what it is. I knew that I could leverage the fact that I used to be a coach in order to strengthen my position. GC Katalin Stefan Hello, Yamato. First of all, thank you for making this effort. I've noticed myself stagnating at a certain point in everything, and I'm pretty much repeating the same few mistakes. When I try to avoid one of them, I'm surely falling into the trap of repeating one of the others. The more terrible thing is that I notice myself doing one of the mistakes almost immediately, and I stop doing everything I do at the moment. And I think this pulls me back as much as doing the mistakes. How can I be sure I am asking myself the proper questions before and while doing something? And how can I get my situational awareness improved? Thank you in advance for your time and advice. It's a little more difficult without the context of the mistakes that are happening, right? But I would say, you know, fixing mistakes is not something that happens fast. Breaking habits is difficult, and fixing mistakes is difficult. Sometimes it helps to go a level deeper. It's like, I made a mistake. Why did I make the mistake? And recognizing your own patterns of behavior is the only way of changing that pattern of behavior. But, this process can be very lengthy, It's like addressing one mistake, let's say in the context of League of Legends, and expecting change right away. Sometimes our habits are very deeply rooted. And sometimes repeating the process of, asking yourself why and how and the reason why you fell into that trap again, just understanding your patterns is the only way of truly improving mistakes. And when it comes to managing multiple things at the same time, because you mentioned that when I try to avoid one of them, I'm surely falling into the trap of repeating one of the others. This is also something that comes with time, It takes practice to be able to focus on multiple things at once. In the context of League of Legends, like let's say you have to look at your minimap a little bit more. There's a certain level of attention that we can achieve. This is, in the context of what Abdul said. There's a certain level of attention span that you have, Are you getting ganked? Is the super roaming? Now it's the lane. Now it's about the minions. Now it's about the summoners. There's a lot of things that are there and are in motion. And that's also a skill. It's just something that you need to practice. And when you review, your state of mind and your process, you just need to look at all of those things. But it's important to focusing in on one thing at a time, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself. So honestly, the best piece of advice that I can give you is keep practicing. Keep practicing. Moha Phone Sum. Hey coach, I want to get your advice about a thing. Let me get the situation clear to you. My dad bought me a laptop after decades of asking, but under one condition, which is not to play video games on it. But it turns out that that laptop has good specs to play League of Legends, and I couldn't resist. I'm playing LOL now for 9 months secretly without him catching me playing it. The thing is, I started to get sick of that, and I wanted to confess to him, and I need some good arguments to convince him that playing video games on laptop isn't a bad thing. Thanks in advance. Well, I would say, I've been in that position, for sure. you know, there are many approaches you can take with this, right? You can be honest. You can be honest. Why are you playing League? Do you know the answer to that? Why are you playing League? You're playing it because you get to socialize with your friends. You get to experience a world that, you know, is not so easy to find on the outside. You get to, you know, this answer needs to come from within, right? The other way is to say, yo, look, esports is a real thing. I'm doing research. You know, you can think of some bullshit, right? You can think of some bullshit. It's like, I'm doing research. I want to work in esports. There's a lot of money. Look how much money these guys are making. Look at this guy. He's wearing a Versace shirt and he's streaming. You know, this is my dream. This is what I want to do. I want to take over the world. You know, if you think of something, you know, clever to say that, you know, appeases to some of the older minds, is usually like money, success, and, you know, finding, you know, might be the case. And might also be the case that maybe your parents have good intentions and they are right in saying that maybe you shouldn't be playing on your video, like on your laptop. Maybe this is hurting your sleep. Maybe this is, you know, making your grades suffer. Maybe there's something there that they have, you know, in mind. So it feels weird for me to give advice on this particular topic because maybe your father knows better than you. Sometimes that can be true, you know. If you come to me with advice and arguments to convince that playing video games on laptop isn't a bad thing, you know, it depends, because it can be a bad thing, you know. It can be a bad thing. It can be a fine thing, it can be an okay thing. You just need to find the answer to that question from within. It's like, why are you playing video games? Ask yourself that. Is the answer good? If no, you still think that this is something that, you know, if you don't have a good answer, maybe your father's just right. Yeah? Let's continue. Supreme Bear IV wrote, my dental degree is difficult, but I'm not sure you can help me with that one. Well, my brother happens to be a dentist, so you could have shipped your question, and that's it, you know? Unbeatable. Hi, Yamato. If you wanted to break into the LEC scene as an analyst or a coach, how would you go about it nowadays? Doing YouTube clips and posting it on Reddit. Kind regards, Unbeatable. Well, I think the key thing is, you know, we're still at a very, very young point in time of League of Legends esports, and, you know, not everything is figured out. You know, I'm learning things on a daily basis, new things. I am coaching very different today from what I did in Spring Split, and I'm actively learning about what I believe what coaching is. And the key thing to make sure that you break out is solve problems that you see, right? It's the same with coming up with an invention, right? There was this known story in Sweden where someone made a plastic banana protector. So basically he saw a problem that a lot of people just accepted to live with. It's like you put your banana in your backpack and then it just gets beaten up and has bruises and shit. And then this guy thought of this plastic banana cover, and this guy turned into a millionaire because he patented it and it was his thing, right? You can't really patent things here in League of Legends, but there are certain elements that you might notice about, you know, coaching, about analysis that you notice are missing. Try to become the person that pushes things ahead of the curve. That is probably the easiest way of breaking out, but at the same time, not easiest, it's the toughest way, but it's the fastest way. That's the right way of putting it. It's the fastest way. Otherwise, just do YouTube clips, post on Reddit, get active in the scene. Get active in the scene, coach individuals, just create a body of work that you make sure that when that lucky break happens, that you're ready, you know? When one of the head coaches of the big LEC teams writes to you, show me what you got, you are ready for that moment in time. So just work to be as ready as possible and create a body of work, you know? Get YouTube clips out there, go on Reddit, use the fact that social media is making it easier than ever. Sexy Squidward. Hello Yamato, what do you think about AI and League of Legends? There's already an AI for Dota 2 that haven't beaten the best Dota 2 team. How would it affect pro play and should it exist? Another thing is the thing in football that talks about how every country has different play style relative to what is happening in the country. For example, Brazil football team focuses on self-dependence because how life is like there. I can see the same thing in League, mostly in LPL, and I think it's the same reason that NA and EU isn't as good as LPL and LCK because they're a group of countries, states. Do you think it's the same thing with League? And would it mean people should find their own style than copying the best? Well, I would say there is a lot of elements here that matter. Culture matters, for sure. Culture impacts who you are as an individual, and I think when it comes to European League of Legends, having good ideas from multiple cultures and making it work can be very, very rewarding. You know, when it comes to the AI part of the question, you know, if I had an AI that we could practice against, it would be the same as chess. You know, you would figure out new moves, you would figure out new ways of playing the matchup. Like, let's say I have a perfect AI, and I would say, yo, Niski, we're gonna try Silas versus Oriana. We're gonna check out how this AI plays it, and then maybe there's things to learn there from how they play specific matchups. Maybe they have a weird item build. Maybe they have weird runes. Maybe they have a weird way of perceiving the game that is just so deep that we couldn't comprehend. So you kind of just copy, right? And then you figure out, oh, this is why they're doing it. You know, it would accelerate the process of improving teams in League of Legends. Like the average level in League of Legends would improve so vastly. Like if you look at chess, right? Chess is a very ancient game. It's a very old game. And now if you're playing at what is considered bronze or silver MMR in chess, people are damn good. And at the highest end, they're so far away from anything that you need a fucking, what is it called? You need binoculars or some shit to see even a glimpse of them, you know? It's very, very, you know, the level is vastly different. And that is due to the time of the game and also due to the engines, you know? A telescope, yeah, that's the word I was looking for. The engines also have improved the level of chess too because they've been inspired by AlphaZero. They've been inspired by Stockfish and so forth because there are things there that you can take away. And I could see the same thing happening for League of Legends. I would use it for practice purposes. When it comes to you know, culture and how it affects players, of course it matters, you know. But background matters, socioeconomic background, culture matters, experiences matter. There's a lot of elements that matter when it comes to each individual. For example, I coached in Korea and everyone had a similar cultural background, and it made some things a lot easier and some things a lot harder. But I think the key thing in European League of Legends, when you have, for example, Vitality, we have a lot of people from different cultures, there is a lot of great things to take away from, you know, from each culture. You know, when you make things work, you have these different perspectives. It allows for more creativity. It allows for more, you know, flexibility and freedom when you get to mix all of these different cultures. But I believe there is a lot of elements here at play when it comes to the LPL and LCK. It's like the LCK and Korea have a lot of history when it comes to esports. They have a clear path to becoming a pro. Their organizations are fantastic. The culture in terms of how discipline is viewed is also, you know, next level, and that's like really, really broken. I'm not gonna lie. It's like when I had the sandbox players, everyone's very disciplined and understands that they need to practice, and the energy in the room is so infectious. And you know, the hierarchy of how older people are treated and people in higher positions are treated, you know, that's something that is also, you know, deeply rooted in how things are culturally. So there's a lot of ease that comes to it, but sometimes these situations can miss a hint of individual expression and creativity, and that's something that I try to pursue super much by, you know, in Sandbox, in my time in Sandbox. So I think there is a discussion there, but I don't think it's the end all be all, because I think, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, I'm not so well versed in football, but I'm pretty sure the best clubs in the world would beat national teams. I'm pretty sure that's the case. If you think of, like, let's say you would take the Champions League winner versus the World Cup finals winner, I'm pretty sure the Champions League winner would be the better team, right? So that's where the argument falls flat. But I could be wrong, right? It's only hypothetical. All right, we're gonna do one last one. Squid asks, coronavirus has destroyed my mental capabilities to focus on things I enjoy outside of video games and social media. I feel as if I'm constantly seeking dopamine hits. I find myself unable to even watch longer YouTube videos anymore. Next year I'll be going to university in a really intense program. I'm really worried about how to sort out this problem before I go to university because I'm worried about my life crashing down around me. You seem to have great philosophy surrounding work. Do you have any suggestions for how I can get back on track in my life? So I've been exactly where you've been. And I think it's way more common than we think. And on my end, you know, I've noticed that the world is designed to keep our attention, you know, to trap our attention and to numb our thoughts. And what I recommend to you is to detox. Genuinely detox, you know? Stay away from this Discord, stay away from my YouTube, stay away from everything and just detox. It's the same thing, you know, when people struggle with nutrition, right? People struggle with nutrition is because often what happens is, you know, the idea of an acquired taste. So I'm in no shape or form a scientist. So I'm gonna, you know, this is gonna sound a lot like bro science. It's just, you know, it's an acquired taste. The same way, you know, being on YouTube and getting these dopamine hits, it just gets worse and worse, right? It just gets worse and worse and worse and worse with time. The more you, the deeper you go into that hole. The same thing works in nutrition, right? You have like these salty items, these you know, sugary items that you know, you've acquired a taste for. You've literally acquired a taste for these sugary and salty items, and that's what your mind and your body is going to crave because that is your mental diet at the time. And you need to detox yourself. You literally need to detox yourself. You need to stay away from these things for quite some time. You know, it's too much of anything is bad, and there are certain things that are very, very addictive. You know, there's porn, there's sugar, there's salty things, there's dopamine hits online, there's Twitter and Facebook. These are all things that are very, very addictive. So what I recommend to you is just do nothing. Stay away. Take a couple of days off from screens. Put your phone away. You need to pretty much detox yourself. That's what I recommend. Detoxing yourself, and then from that point onward, when you've managed to do that, you can start over and try to create the habits that you want to have. But you need to like detox completely. The same way people detox from porn, people detox from foods. Same thing for your mental diet. You need to detox yourself, and then remove that second screen because you don't want to have two monitors. Two monitors is really, really bad. And start from there. I look forward to hearing how the detox works out. Actually, I don't. You're supposed to not at all. You're not supposed to write anything here. Anyhow, 2 months is great if you're in software development. Yeah, sure. In some lines of work, it can be easy, right? But better, right? Like, for example, if I'm working, it's good to have 2 screens. Like, I'm going to watch scrims and then I write notes on the other screen. That's helpful, right? But sometimes people are playing League and then they have YouTube going on the other screen. They're watching PewDiePie, fucking rap or something. Who knows? So that was the final question of the day. We're going to continue with the other questions some other time. I appreciate you guys very, very much for joining me today. This was the first episode. It was kind of scuffed. I think it can be better. We're going to have it next Sunday again. So I appreciate all of you. I'm going to watch MSI. It's going to be exciting. All the best to all of you. Take care and bye-bye. All the best.